Hey friends, happy Friday morning. It is going to be a beautiful, beautiful day. Getting ready to head into the gym, but I wanted to share something that was on my heart this morning. Something that I hope blesses you as much as it did me. Last night, we had a very, very much needed meeting of our women's Bible study group. For one reason or another, we've had stuff going on at church and Judgment House and all kinds of other stuff, but we have not met in a month. And so last night when we sat down for Bible study, we never got to Bible study. Instead, we just started talking about over the past month about everything that had been going on in our lives, and everybody had something, everybody had something going on, some kind of trial, but we shared those, and we shared the good things that have been going on in our life. And for over an hour, we just talked and we just lifted one another up, and we all walked away just with our cups full, as we always like to say. And of course, before we walked away, after we had talked, we gathered together in a prayer circle and we just prayed for one another. We prayed that the Lord would guard us and that the Lord would protect us and, keep us free from the deceitfulness of sin and against the attacks of the enemy. And, this is so absolutely important because, we live in a fallen world, and 1 Peter 5:8 says that we have an enemy, and that is Satan, and he roams around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he can devour. And of course, if you look at the strategies of predators such as lions, they lie in wait, they wait for the opportune time, and then they pounce, and without warning. And one of the most opportune times that Satan can attack in the life of any believer is when they're out of the fold, when they're out of the protection of their godly brothers or sisters, right? And this is where a lot of us, we still continue to go to church and we still continue to do the things in our Bible study, but we'd miss this important component, and in Proverbs 11:14 is that it tells us that there's safety in a group of counselors. I'm paraphrasing that one. But this morning, that's why my Bible study was so timely. I was in Hebrews 3. And this was an absolute gem. I highly encourage you to read it. But in chapters 12 through 14, Paul clearly warns us. He says, "Beware, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God." And this departing indicates that it's a slow fade. It's a slow process. And, that's the deceitfulness of sin. It kind of reels you in just one step at a time. But Paul said, "But exhort one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin." And once again, this hardening it's a slow fade. It's a slow process. It's like the potter who makes a pot, and it just becomes, while it's still moldable, he can do with it what he wants. But if left unattended, it gets hard, and there's nothing that you can do with it once it's gotten hardened. But that's why he warns us. And in verse 14, "For we have become partakers of Christ if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast to the end." Do you get this part? He says, "But exhort one another." That's encourage one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. And sin, let me tell you what, sin is so deceitful. It doesn't come, wrapped in this beautiful package, or in this evil package, I should say, knocking at the door and saying, "Hey, do you have time for me to come in?" It comes into us in so many subtle ways, and it gets us to doubt. It gets us to be discouraged. And that's why it's so important that daily that we meet with those people who are partakers of Christ, those people who share in our love of God, because this is a deal like we talked about last night. We talked about some of the things we were going through and the things that we couldn't see, the deceitfulness of the enemy's plots and his schemes. We could point out in each other. We said, "Aha, I see what happened there." And that caused the one going through that she was like, "Oh my goodness." And I was the same way. And this is why it's so good for us to be in the company of believers daily, at least by phone or, by text or whatever. And, Paul in Hebrews 10:25 went on to say, "Let us not neglect meeting together as some are in the habit of doing." See, once again, it's a slow fade, but to do it even more so as we see the end days approaching. And the end days are definitely upon us. And that's why it's so important that we get in the protection of our godly friends, of our godly brothers and sisters. So guys, I really, really hope that blesses you. But more than anything, I hope it inspires you to get into the word each and every day and to get into the protection of your godly brothers and sisters. I tell you what, it'll pay dividends. I'm going to get in a workout and get off to the best job ever. It is going to be a great day.